Hello everyone, I Dhananjay Gupta welcome you all on behalf of Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning program. Acharya Brahmadevji has joined us today from Mauritius. Acharya will be covering today the underlying spirituality in rituals, in Vedic values. Acharya will be covering the topic of rituals today, the sanskars. Acharya Brahmadevji has an inclusive educational background in science, banking, management, and Darshanacharya, Vedic philosophy, Darshan Yog Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India, and a diverse career in financial services, industry, and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center in Cumming. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French. Over to Acharya.
Namaste, everybody. Just we'll bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight with the back, the neck, and the head in one vertical position. Body totally relaxed. Close the eyes gently. Deep inhale and exhale. And while exhaling, we are going to do Om Jap, chanting of Om, the prime name of God, and also the universal sound. And while chanting Om, let's sense the vibrations of our own chanting throughout the body. Observe where it starts, how it flows through the spine and ends at the brain. Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhurabhuva Swa Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Join the palms together, rub them gently, cover the eyes and slowly open the eyes below the palms. Transfer the energy to the facial muscles. Keep a gentle smile, and that will relieve all our points of stress in the body. So we were looking into the values, the Vedic values underlying the rituals, and with focus on the sanskara. We had covered the Garbhadhan sanskara, conception, then Punsavan, Simantonayan, Jat Karma, welcoming the newborn, And after that, the Nishkraman Sanskar. After the naming ceremony, that is after birth, so we come to Namkaran and then Nishkraman, which is the first outing for the baby. So that's the beauty of the Vedic Hindu Dharma, which enjoins both the physical, mental growth along with the spiritual growth of the child. It's not question of, we say, and often in the world of today, contemporary times, we say, no, when the child grows, when becomes adult, then we'll focus on the spiritual aspect of life. No. The Vedic Hindu Dharma says the background work has to be done even before conception. That's why the concept of Garbhadhan Sanskar. And we see that as a living example in the life of Sri Ram. Ram, Bharat, Shatrughna, and Lakshman were all born after Putreshti Yajna, recommended by Maharshi, by the rishis to Dashrath. Because he was married for a long period of time and he didn't have kids. And he was recommended to observe brahmacharya, celibacy, for a period of time, and then do putreshti yaj, the sanskara, before going into relationships to conceive the child. And he got 4 sons, brilliant, exemplary persons. And coincidentally, we'll be starting the festival of Ram Navami. So it's good to focus on the foundations that were laid for the making of such exemplary person. And we see that also in the Mahabharata, where when we look into the life of Sri Krishna before begetting a child, he observed brahmacharya for 12 years. And here the brahmacharya ashram in the Hindu Vedic Dharma is about 25 years for a boy and 18 years for a girl. That is, the physical buildup, the moral, mental buildup, and the spiritual buildup has been done. Solid foundations. So that's also this, the underlying scientific aspect. Now, people will say we don't have data to back up that, but at least our itihas proves it in terms of the Ramayana. And if people, that is something for people to experience in their personal lives. Then Punsavan and Simantanayan Sanskar, focusing on the physical environment where the pregnant mother, the baby is growing within the womb, and taking care of the physical environment, that is the cleanliness in terms of body, mind, and spirit, as well as the surroundings, that leads to the building up. Then when the child is born, welcoming the baby with a Jat Karma Sanskara, that is welcoming the baby, just as when we buy a new home, we do the housewarming party and everything, the housewarming ceremony. And people do gatherings, social gatherings, to welcome friends and relatives, to share the joy. It's the same thing with the Jat Karma Sanskar, the welcoming of the newborn within the family. Then after that comes the naming ceremony. Remember, names in the Vedic Hindu Dharma, the names given to children are always names which inspire the child to grow on certain lines. So names also we have to look at the meaning of the names, so that names are inspiring. Then after that comes the Nishkraman Sanskar, which is the first outing. That is, the child is kept within the home for 3 months to be able to stabilize with the outer environment. Now, out of the womb, where the temperature also was about 32 degrees, coming into the room, probably if it's summer, then we'll have a temperature which we feel okay, but it's still lower than where the baby was living in. And if it's winter, then it's much lower. So stabilizing with the environment first, then moving out for the outings. Okay, in between their prescriptions, visit to the doctors, etc. That is the usual form, but major outing starts from 3 months. So the child has already stabilized within the home environment, then start becoming familiar with the outer environment beyond the 4 walls of the house. Then comes, after that, Annaprashan Sanskara. It's around the 6th month after birth. And Annaprashan Sanskara is a ceremony for the first feed of cereals. Usually what we do either rice cooked with milk in the form of kheer, and that's also very liquid form, or rice and some grains like moong dal, things like that, which are easily, when we cook, it becomes just fluid. And we start by giving probably half a spoon or even less than that to the child. And the scientific aspect of the Annaprashan Sanskara is that it's the teething period which is about to start or has already started. And the child has grown probably up to 12 or 15 pounds from the 5-6 pounds that they weigh when they are born. Probably even some go up to 7 or 8 pounds. But then after that, when the child has grown to 12-15 pounds, the mother's milk doesn't suffice. And the baby is growing now, the bones and everything are going very fast. So we have to add more nutrients. So that is catering for the body growth. Teething about to start, milk doesn't suffice, nutrients have to be added. But there's also the process of gradual weaning off from the mother's milk. So that's another slow process. The rituals, remember when the first feed also is being prepared, and it's also advisable in the Hindu Vedic Dharma, to take the process of cooking food as a spiritual aspect of life. Keep the mind calm with the positive vibes, which will feel. There's one episode in the life of Mahatma Swami Anand, which he describes. He was jailed because he was one of the freedom fighters, as most of the freedom fighters of India at those times were from the Arya Samaj background. So he was jailed, and the first few nights in jail was very turmoil for him. It was a tumultuous period for him to get some sleep. Then he looked into that one, I think 7th or 8th night, he had a dream. And the dream was he was killing his mother, and his mother has already died long ago. So how come now the dream has come to him? Then he went into meditation. He said that is the effect of the food that he had during dinner. And when he went into that, he then requested to meet the in charge of the prison and asked to get familiar with the cook. And the cook was someone who was in jail because of the crime he committed, killing his mother. And look at the factors. These are very subtle factors that affect our making. And if we pay attention, often at times when during the night, it's not insomnia, but we get temporary discomforts, unable to sleep. And probably if we look back at the food that we have, probably we've had a heavy meal, which is not recommended for dinner, or we've had food with so much spices which have given excess heat to the body, things like that. So that's why the ritual of preparing food is to be considered as a physical and a spiritual process. The more we are happy, we have the positive vibes within ourselves, take it as a duty that this is for our physical, mental growth. Because eventually the food will reach the brain region, the nutrients will reach all the parts of the body, including the brain. So that is the aspect of that. And if we cater from that till at the very start, when the child is growing, we'll be nurturing these values that food is to be considered as sacred in life. That's why the Hindu Vedic Dharma says, when we are partaking of food, it's better to sit down comfortably, not walk around, and try to be calm. Not if we have guests, we don't engage in heated arguments. It's always very calm, subtle chatting about good things, get the positive vibes. And this is the purpose of the Annaprashan Sanskar. Besides the physical aspects that the child is growing, the mother's milk is going to be weaned off or doesn't suffice. We have this addition, and the first addition is when we do that kheer or light khichdi, which is without salt again. It's only, as we say, probably take one small spoon of rice and milk, or pulses and rice and one small spoon, and giving a small feed that is just for the child to be able to start getting familiar with that. And when we go into that, gradually we can add vegetable, fruit juices, as we say, puree, blending all the things into liquid form, and then start feeding the child gradually. And this is where, at that period of growth, the child needs nutrients. So it's best to give by way of gradually, slowly adding the feed. And it comes to a time when, after probably likely what the age of the first year has gone, the child will start with solid food. Because the stomach is growing, then needs more consistent feed also to sustain, so that the child is properly nourished. And the physical makeup will also help in the mental makeup, the moral makeup, the spiritual makeup, and the social makeup of the child. And that's a very crucial point in the life of the child. And generally, we've noticed children who are malnourished at the very beginning, they tend to suffer over life. So we have to be careful. And the prescriptions of Ayurveda are there: unbalanced diet, and also go on the diet according to the vegetables and fruits of the seasons. After the Annaprashan Sanskar, the next one is the Chura Karma, Mundan Sanskar, or as we say, this is the tonsure, shaving of the head. This is usually at the point of 1 year. When teething, the teething is now at full swing. It generates an excess of heat in the body. There's irritation. and the hair is shaved off the head. That provides better aeration, and then the hair from which was growing from the womb is removed. It's new hair. It's an environment of freshness, just like when we move from winter to spring, we move from dullness to freshness, to the beauty of the scenery. It's something which we can say resembles light. By removing the hair at the age of 1, the head is light. And when the head is light, the exchange of heat also from the excess of heat of the body, especially in the head region, because the teeth are in the face. So that gives a good interaction with the exchange of heat, and that brings the child to a soothing, calming effect. That is also, as per the Ayurveda, the connection of the shaving of the head with the teething period. And then it's done with the mantras again being chanted. The person doing the shaving is guided first to remove from the right-hand side, then left-hand side, then from the front and from the back. That gives also the balance of the body, just not do it abruptly. Because when you remove from the right, then you remove from the left, then from the front and from the back, that signifies also introducing the body balance. And then after that, the bath is with tepid waters, lukewarm water, and some ghee just rub on the hand and massage around the head. And if that is done daily with the child, body massage, etc., with that growing child, it will boost the health and the immunity of the child. So we see all these sanskars are there to protect the child and give a clear environment for physical, mental, spiritual, and social growth. Because the child at the age of 1 likely now has started walking with the first baby steps, getting also familiar with the environment of the house, with the friends, with the relatives, with all people around. So we have to be extremely careful. And even it said now it's time to see what is on the floor, because babies, what they tend to do is just pick up everything. So that shows to us we have to be extra careful now with the baby steps in the life of the child. After that comes with the, after the Chura Karma Sanskar, then comes the Karnaved Sanskar. The Karnaved Sanskar is the piercing of the ear, and usually that is done by the Vaid, the Ayurveda specialist. All the jewelers who've been trained for that, there's a nerve which they look at the ear, and the piercing is done just on the point of that. That has the effect of the vaccine. Nowadays we see people doing piercing here and there, but the ear piercing is a very scientific process described in Ayurveda. The piercing is done on a particular point on the ear, which has a region of acupressure also. And it is done on the point where one of the nerves flow, and that also re-equilibrates the body system. And piercing of the ear in the Vedic Hindu Dharma is done for both boys and girls. So it's not, nowadays we see piercing as fashion, but in the Vedic philosophy, in the Hindu philosophy, it is done for medical reasons, to boost the health, the immunity of the child, by targeting the point where it restores the body balance of the body with the hormones, with all the nervous systems and everything. Then comes the Upanayan Sanskara of the sacred thread, Yajyopavit. And the age there is prescribed is about 5 to 8 years old. Because after that would be the Vedaram Sanskar, induction into formal learning. So the Yajopavit Sanskar, the sacred thread. Let's look at the thread itself now. It is free strings looped into a thread, and each one of them also has free. So it's total 9. But it's thin, we don't notice. And the free threads are symbolical of the free debts that we have in life in this human birth. And the free rins are Devrin, Rishirin, and Pitrin. Devrin is the gratitude that we owe to God for having given us birth in the universe and created the universe with all the amenities that are needed for life. Like we always say, space, earth, water, fire, air, the 5 gross elements, which we need, because we need space to live. We need the earth also as a provider of food, provider of shelter, food and clothing, etc. We need air to breathe. We need water to keep our body hydrated and for bath and etc. We need fire energy to be able to cook food and to live. If the body doesn't have energy, it goes cold and we die. So it's all like this. So that is Devrin, gratitude to God. And that's a reminder for us that every morning when we wake up, let's be thankful to God for the new day in our life. Then Rishirin, for them having unfolded the spiritual and physical sciences, handing it over to us. It includes all the mentors, the gurus, the acharyas, the teachers, the mentors we have had in our life. And that can be also people in our surroundings. It can be our parents, elderly siblings, etc. But then there's Pitrin specifically to the parents who've given us birth, who've catered us for us till we become independent in life. And the sacred thread is the reminder of these rings. We'll deal at some point, later point in time, the concept of free in the Vedic Hindu Dharma. It starts with the basics. We know the 3 different attributes of God, which we generally take as Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, but we take it as generator, operator, and dissolver of the universe. Creator, operator, and sustainer, or then dissolver, destroyer of this universe at the end of its lifetime. So with the concept of free again, the free eternals of this world, one is Ishwar God, second is the Jeev or the soul, and third is Prakriti, gross, prime nature of matter. So we'll deal with the concepts of free like this at some later point in time. The Yajopavit is a reminder of these things. And Yajopavit is for all students being inducted in, to be inducted in the formal learning. Generally, Upanayan and Vedaram Sanskara are performed one after the other. And the mantra says, Mama Vrate Te Hridayam, which is one of the key mantras which is said there. Mama vrate te hridayam chitta. It symbolizes the harmony between the heart and the mind, between the thoughts, the words, and the physical actions. Just teaching a harmony in the life of the child. And the Yajupavit is prescribed for both boys and girls, because the Vedas say, in terms of girls' education, Kanya Vindate Patim. So the girl should also have all the access to education, become brilliant, learned before going into married life. So if we see the concept of Yajupavit, it was given to all the children that would be inducted into the formal learning process. And the formal learning process includes, at that particular point in time, of the Gurukul and now the modern schools. And that reminds the child also to keep the body, mind, and spirit pure at all times. As we say, it's a symbol. It's a reminder to us to keep the purity of mind, body, and spirit. That's Upanayan Sanskar. And Upanayan Sanskar, the main part of it is 3 days the child is kept on sattvic food, more or less milk, and it's rice. And if it's pulses, also grains introduced, that would be saltless. That goes on a physical purification. It's not total absence of food, no. It's more, if the child can sustain 3 days on milk, that's fine. Otherwise, it's on, as we say, kshiram, kheer. Not too sweet, just moderate, but to keep that level of sattvikta in the body, the physical framework. And that will boost the sattvic level of the mental framework. And the child, when we're performing will be performing the Yajupavit Sanskar, will be in that sattvic avastha, the purest form of the physical and mental state when the child is given the Yajupavit. And one of the mantras also says, Yajupavitam paramam pavitram. It's not pavitram, it's paramam pavitram, the highest level of purity. And as we say, mind, body, and spirit. If we go within those lines, okay, what the child will become of his or her own making once started growing, probably during adolescence. But if the guidance is given at the very tender age, the risk that the child goes astray is very little or minimal. And it also gives, there's one mantra which comes there, the Vrat mantra, Agne Vratapate Vratam Charishyami, where the child gives the pledge to always be truthful. And always be truthful, there's one analogy which is there. It gives as a story, somebody comes home and the parent doesn't want to meet that person and tells the child, go and tell that person, I'm not at home. And the child opens the door and say, my father is saying, or my mom is saying that he or she is not at home. Just look at the innocence of the child. The child has been told, go and tell that person that I'm not at home. And he goes and says, my father, my mother is saying he or she is not at home. But then are we teaching the proper values to the child? No. So let's be truthful. If we don't want to meet that person, let's say we are busy with our own agenda, let's meet at some other time. That is the proper way of doing it. And the child won't be taught to tell lies from our side. This is where things go wrong. So when the vrat is being taken, Agni vrata pate vratam charishyami tanme radhyatam. Idam aham anritat satyam upaimi, that we are motivating the child, anritat, to stay away from untruth, from falsehood, from lies. Satyam upaimi, always to be motivated to be truthful. So let's start by, as we say, practice what we preach. And that is, starts at home. It starts with me, and then I can teach that to the child. That's the beauty of the sanskaras as a means to impregnate the values of the human values or the living values of human life within the child. Next come the Vedaram Sanskara, induction into the teaching of the Vedas. And remember, the teaching of the Vedas, there's no restriction as to what we say, whether it's be on the professions of the parents, what, as we say in the modern languages, the caste, but it's varna in the Vedic and the philosophy. Varna is more about the profession, the character, the actions, and the temperament. Gun karma swabhav ke aadhar par hai. It's not the birth based. And to all those who have the potential to engage into the learning of the Vedas, it's open. It's open to both boys and girls, to men and women alike. And the Vedaram Sanskar is the start of formal education. And remember the Vedic teachings, Vayam Syama Patayo Rainam, with the aim to become masters of both worldly and spiritual treasures. When we say the Vedic path of life is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, it starts now with the Vedaram Sanskara. So Dharma is righteous living and righteous earnings. Earnings is never denied, but it has to be on the path of Dharma. Then enjoyment, Kam, it's righteous enjoyment. Enjoyment also is not denied, but it says go on the path of Dharma, righteous enjoyment. Then we'll progress to Moksha. So that concept is being infused in the child at a very early, tender age to be righteous at all times. And that's the teachings of the Vedas for both worldly and spiritual growth, material growth, physical growth, and spiritual growth. And let's look at the next sanskar is the Samavartan, which is the graduation. These two sanskar nearly resembles each other in terms of the mantras that are being used. Free samidhas are given to the offered to the holy fire during those sanskar, teaching us that for whatever we are learning or we have learned in life, let's be like the samidha. When it goes into the fire, it adopts the qualities of the fire, get transformed, never to come out as a piece of wood or the piece of samidha. The transformation is irreversible. So whatever we've learned in terms of values, we transform our life, self-transformation, never to go back where we stood before. That's the purpose of education in life. Then there's the other set of mantras, praying for good health. Vakachama apyayatam, pranashchama apyayatam, shrotrashchama apyayatam, that is, all the body limbs function properly. Then tanupagni tanvan me pahi, ayurada si ayur me dehi. So we are praying for that. And the induction mantra during the Vedaram Sanskar is the Gayatri mantra. And it's from here that this mantra is known as the Guru mantra. Because the Guru or the teacher, when takes the child under his umbrella, his or her umbrella, the Gayatri mantra says what? Dhyo yo naha prachodayat. Praying for the enlightened mind, enlightened intellect. So that we'll be able to make the difference between truth and untruth, between right and wrong, dharma and adharma. And from that, we can be assertive in our duties and responsibilities and grow further. So that's why it's known as Guru Mantra and Maha Mantra. Because when we have the enlightened mind, the enlightened intellect, we can do whatever we want in our life. And we'll always keep with it that framework of dharma, which is righteous, the path of righteousness. So we'll see the next sanskar in the next session. But then it's good to also, as a reminder, this week, Tuesday, we'll be celebrating Nav Samvatsar, the Vedic Hindu New Year, which I dealt with the sessions in the kids, and the session of Saturday with the satsang, the weekly services. And if you want more details, you can go on YouTube or Facebook for the streaming which was done, and it's there. The Hindu Center of Atlanta and the Atlanta Hindu Priest with the Hindu Center of Atlanta. It's on the Facebook page there. That's why I chose not to repeat the same subject matter, but just it's the Vedic Hindu New Year. It's spring. It shows the newness, the freshness in life. And this is when God completed the creation with the human species, gave the knowledge of the Vedas to mankind. And it's also celebrated, it was celebrated worldwide. When the Julian calendar was running, the Western world was celebrating New Year at this particular point in time. And in the mid 1500 and 1600, that was changed to the Gregorian calendar. Then January 1st became the New Year. But otherwise, else everybody was following the same basis for New Year. It's an inspirational moment for us to delve, to look back into what we did, probably look at what we did good and try to do better. And for whatever been the errors and the omissions, ready our life not to repeat these mistakes, these errors, these omissions. Then also it's time to be grateful to Ishwar God for whatever we've had in our life. Be grateful to the gurus, the teachers, the mentors, to our parents who gave us the opportunity to be what we are in our life. Be grateful to our spouse, to our children, and to all around us. It's time also to engage in some spiritual moments, praying together with the family. And it says the family who prays together, the bonding is better there. And then probably have some sattvic food as lunch and dinner on that day. Keep the body, as we say, purity of mind, body, and spirit. Then also starts Ram Navami from Tuesday. As I always say, we dealt with it today. Ram was born from the Putreshti Garbhadhan Sanskar and gives the exemplary. And why Ram is praised till now. He was in Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga itself was 864,000 years. Still after about 1 million years, still known worldwide. Why? Let's look into the character, try to adopt the virtues. We'll deal with the life of Sri Ramchandra in the next session, and then we'll come back again to the Sanskar. Wish you a happy, as we say, Nav Samvatsar, Nutan Varsh Abhinandan. It's also the Arya Samaj Sthapna Divas, Arya Samaj which brought back the universal Vedic values from the Vedas to the whole world. And the life of Sri Ramchandra, inspiring personality. Let's learn about the life of Sri Ramchandra, not only do the chanting, but understand what we are chanting about and implement them in our life. We'll come out surely a much better person than what we are. So that's all for today. Wish you all well. Take care. Stay safe. And leave it to Dhananjay for the closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya-ji. You very well explained today the different sanskars in Vedic Hindu philosophy. You explained today Namkaran Sanskar, Chudakarm Sanskar, Karnaved Sanskar, Upnayan Sanskar, Vedaram Sanskar, and Samavartan Sanskar. Acharya-ji will continue on these different sanskars next week onwards. And just for a reminder, all of you, we have a Friday session at 9 p.m. for the kids and young youth that is called Sanatan Dharma Simplified, where kids learn the Vedic mantras and their meaning and learn from a story. On Saturday, we have a weekly satsang, morning 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us for that. And on Sunday, we have the spiritual learning for the adults at 9 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. Please do join us on this. See you next week. Thank you for joining.
One Om jap before closing. Sit down straight, chanting Om, and feel the vibrations in the body, how they bring the inner peace to us. Deep inhale. Thank you. Namaste.